And we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this episode of Exploring Star Trek Discovery. I am your host, Average Joe the Average Geek, and I have with me my partial bridge crew of Patrick Whitehead and Will Smith. How's it going, fellas?
All right.
Good. Man, we got another great episode tonight. Fantastic episode. There's a lot to talk about with this one, guys. A lot to talk about. So I guess let's just jump right into it. Right off the bat, what did you think of the episode?
A lot of the twists and turns, and really just a better appreciation of which we thought was the enemy that killed all the members of the Glen. That was a very big revelation. It never ceases to amaze me.
Absolutely. What did you think, Pat?
Uh, I agree with Will. The Ripper, now they call him Ripper.
Yeah.
The
Using him as an organic navigator was kind of cool. But as we saw in the episode, there's a cost to that. So
Yeah. This episode, although this is Star Trek unlike any Star Trek that we've ever seen, it is still very much Star Trek in its core. And it hit on some really awesome Star Trek themes in this episode. We could talk about how Starfleet has been knocked off balance. Starfleet is now having to act as a war machine as opposed to the exploratory force that they've always been, and they're not used to it. They don't know how to handle it. It's new territory for Starfleet. They had that, the encounter with the Romulans a century in the past, and some encounters with the Klingons a century in the past, but they're not a military body in the traditional sense. They have a military role, but I mean, they're not war fighters. So, the Discovery is being forced into these unusual situations. And we're seeing some blowback from that. Like Paul Stamets, he's on the verge of mutiny. Even Michael Burnham, who was the great mutineer, she is struggling with that idea of are we warfighters or are we scientists? Hell, we had a character today pay the price for that with Commander Landry. That was
she paid the price for stupidity, dude. Screw that.
Yeah, that was dumb. Yeah. So, right. I mean, it's not pulling any punches. That's for sure. How often in Trek, I think, let's see, the last time we saw a bridge officer get killed was Tasha Yar. Encounter at Farpoint,
or maybe Malcolm Reed.
Oh yeah, Malcolm Reed Enterprise. Yeah, Malcolm Reed Enterprise. Not Malcolm. Trip, not Malcolm Reed, but Trip.
Trip. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, a clone of his. They B4'd it and they half-assed it. I don't think we're going to see some random clone of Commander Landry pop back up on Discovery. She did, and
that comes to show
Michael
you
Smith says the show is ice cold and he loves it. No, absolutely, it pulls no punches. Like, it has something to say, and it's saying it profusely.
It's saying don't get used to any of these characters.
No, not like Game of Thrones, where the moment you enjoy a character, that character is doomed to die. It's just it's not pulling the punches in terms of thematic story. We're getting that interplay between war and science really hardcore in this episode. How far can we push the envelope? How far can we push the boundaries of our, of our morals, of our guiding star, in the name of victory? We see Landry, who violates so many different traditionally Starfleet principles when dealing with the tardigrade creature. And she pays the ultimate price for it. Yes, it was a dumb mistake. She should have known better. but it really is elucidating that kind of thematic point where Michael Burnham, was able to slow down and reason her way and logic her way into it, and realize that no, just the creature's base instinct might not be aggressive. In what the creature naturally is, and to assume that it is doing a disservice to the creature. It's doing a disservice to Starfleet. Uh, so that was a great way of framing that interaction with the tardigrade creature. And then later on in the episode, when it's actually plugged into the drive system, and it's in distress, it hurts, it bleeds. It and now I guess now we know why the spore drive never took off. No pun intended, with Starfleet. The use of the spore drive in this iteration of it is in itself a violation of Starfleet principles.
Yes.
But then we have to ask ourselves, is that okay? We're at war, and this is the bloodiest war in the history of the Federation. I mean, up until the Dominion War, and even then, I don't know if the Dominion War had the same casualties as the Klingon Federation War did. I'm sure somebody in chat will correct me on that. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, all right, we are in the middle of this violent, bloody, drawn out conflict where more than 8,000 Starfleet officers have already died. We're about to lose a colony. We're about to lose the primary source of dilithium in the Alpha Quadrant. 40% of dilithium for Starfleet is produced on Corvan 2, and they're about to lose it, including hundreds of colonists, hundreds of miners. Uh, how far does Starfleet have that right to push the boundaries of what they know? To push the boundaries of their moral code. Captain Jessica's episode 4 Discovery looked to be better. Yeah, it was a really, really, really good episode. This episode was very, very Trek. So what do you think about that idea, guys? How far can Starfleet go in the name of winning this war? Is it okay for them to sacrifice their morals to get a victory?
I just gotta say this: like you said that the Klingon War was so unprecedented that the Federation wasn't ready. You mean tell me that this and it's not a fledgling federation. This whole group, this whole conglomerate of entities weren't ready for war. The prospect of war, they weren't geared up for it.
That's the implication.
This all just crept into the back door, and no one could do anything. Come on, man.
That is the implication from what we understand from Star Trek canon. We know that there was various conflicts with the Klingons in the past. That the Romulan War occurred, and then right after the Romulan War occurred, the Federation Accords were signed. And then it was, as far as we know, it was just 100 years of unfettered expansion for the Federation of Planets. It's like, hey, the whole, like Takuma said it best, the "we come in peace" kind of idea of the Federation. So they didn't develop a military. I mean, they had it, obviously. We know Section 31's been operating in the background the whole time. There was no indication in this episode that Lorca and Discovery were part of Section 31. I thought they might have added a little bit more evidence to that, but there wasn't any additional evidence in this episode. So it's interesting, Yeah, like this war jumped up out of nowhere on the Federation. We saw when they were lined up against the Klingons in the episode Battle of the Binary Stars, how just completely and totally outclassed and outgunned the Federation was.
Huh. It just makes, I don't know. Just it. Mm. realize how weak the Federation was at this point in time in Kansas is kind of sad to me personally. And
Yeah.
even if there was the Romulan War or this encounter, there should have been some part of the military still functioning, ready to roll at a moment's notice. You know what I mean? Like, all right, guys, put down your phasers. We're all good. It's all peace, love, and harmony now. Let's smoke some weed and everybody.
Well,
Hang out.
Star Trek has always had that, the unquenchable hope, the idea of this utopia society that humanity can achieve, where we have transcended violence, where we have transcended many of the problems that humanity has faced. Star Trek has always been about that. And it's interesting to know that the Federation saw 100 years of that advancement after signing the Federation Accords, only for this to pop up and immediately they have to put into question everything. Um, got a couple more comments. See, Captain Jesse goes, "I'm sorry that Commander Landry was killed." Yeah, but Landry deserved that shit. So I'm only feel sorry for so bad.
I had
Uh,
to stick up her butt, so
well,
she had to go.
well, she was a fighter. She's a fighter.
Well, she
I
failed that fight,
mean,
bro.
it would surprise me if she's a Mako or whatever the Makos became after the Federation Accords. You know,
Yeah.
so she definitely has that sense. Michael Smith goes, "This show reminds me of the X-Men comics. I love Dark Heroes." Yeah, I mean, there's some. Lorca is a very interesting captain. I'm finding myself to be a pretty intense Gabriel Lorca fan, and he's got a complete and total point in all of this. Like, no, at this particular point in time, the Discovery isn't a science vessel. It can't be a science vessel. It has to be a warship. Of course, at the same time, Michael Burnham kind of puts that whole idea on its head by sciencing the shit out of the tardigrade problem. So it's an episode of dichotomies. You know, how does the science and exploratory aspect of of what the Federation does compare with its now warlike nature? Let's see. Kevin Jessica goes, "I hope that Michael Burnham learns a lesson." I think Michael Burnham has learned a lesson. Um, she, I mean, she's in the course of her character growth. She's very different now than where she was in the prologue episodes 1 and 2. So I think Michael Burnham has learned some lessons. And of course, at the very end of the episode, when she opens up the package from Philippa Georgiou, I imagine the gut punch that would be. It's like, where Georgiou's like, "Oh, I'm proud of you as if you were my daughter. I'm sure you're a captain now. Remember, take care of the people under your command." And none of that's true. She's the mutineer. She has no rank. She's just she just works for Starfleet. Technically, she's not a member of Starfleet anymore. Yes, Hero Raven Song. I did play the Star Wars Battlefront 2 beta. I actually got a little video up on my channel, but that's another conversation for another day. This was a really great episode. Really great episode. Very, very Star Trek in its nature. All right, so let's talk about the Spore Drive. So we got an official name for the Spore Drive. It is the Displacement Spore Hub Drive, which is really cool. And Lorca specifically says that they can appear anywhere in the universe. Like specifically, we find out that they can jump anywhere into their charted space. So if they have a star system charted, they can jump there in this drive, of course, with the use of the tardigrade as a navigator. What do y'all think about that kind of technology?
Ooh, it's really hard to say because It's like it's so not really what we've seen before. Yeah, of course, the great experiment with Excelsior before. Could that possibly what Transwarp could have been? There's no way to know for certain. But as far as the using spores to jump from here to there, it's an amazing concept. I'm pretty sure we're going to get into the conversation of if it's going to be if it's ethical, but I just think it was pretty awesome what they ended up doing. But I don't know how long that's going to be for the discovery. How long they're going to be using that before they pull the brakes on? Like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. What's happened with the drive is very interesting. It's like, is that the only tardigrade creature? What happens when they kill it? Because apparently, in the preview for next week's episode, that whole idea is going to take another step forward. The idea of, is it okay? Okay, you remember Voyager season 4, the Equinox? I think it was season 3 or 4. 3 or 4. Equinox, the other Starfleet vessel that was stuck over there, and they were capturing these creatures that existed in subspace and then torturing them to enhance their warp drive to go faster. So we've seen one version of this kind of story with the Equinox in Voyager. Something very similar is happening now on the Discovery. It's like, yes, okay, so you're using spores, whatever. They're non-sentient, they're using that kind of life system. That's awesome. But the moment you have to torture a creature to exploit that system, when does it become too much?
right,
You know, maybe this is why the drive system is abandoned, because it's very specific in its nature. It's like, okay, everybody that's going to use the displacement spore hub drive system has to have this tardigrade on board, and it has to be plugged in, and it has to be tortured. Um, that's it's kind of fucked, especially for Starfleet. That's something the Romulans would do. That's something the Klingons would do. You
Any
know,
means necessary, I guess.
any means necessary, which brings up the themes of the season so far. Like, how much is too much? I've said that a few times now, because that's really what we're talking about. It's a man versus man situation. It's not man versus God. It's not man versus environment or anything like that. It's man versus man. Like, we have these goals, we have these ideals, and they are inviolable. You know, you can't. It's like you know destroying the Constitution to save the Constitution idea. It's you can't do these things. You lose a part of yourself.
It's very anti-hero-ish.
It's very anti-heroish, but at the same time, and to be, yes, it's very anti-heroish. And then Discovery uses that drive to swoop in like freaking Superman and just do the most amazing save of the day we've probably ever seen a starship do in Star Trek. When it jumped to right above the colony in an atmosphere from across the freaking galaxy, and it just jumped, boom, took out birds of prey, and then jumped back out. That was freaking cool, man. I cheered. I'm like, that is badass. Like, on the next level. That was really, really, really cool. But then you take that really, really, really awesome core to the whole, oh, but we're Starfleet. We're better than this. It's that dichotomy again. It's making for some very interesting stories.
Okay, so then you kind of ask yourself this: without Ripper be the conduit, the navigation system. What is Discovery? What do you have now? I mean, I don't know. You got nothing, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
what?
like, this is Starfleet's trump card.
It's a flawed, and we now saw it is a flawed trump card.
yeah,
It is flawed. It is fun.
Flawed in ethics, flawed in implementation, and morals.
I mean, yeah, look what it did to the Glen.
Yeah.
You know, whew, you one misstep and your crew's turned inside out, literally.
And this is where it comes into Star Wars. I was mentioning before, talking about the Navicomputer, and if you don't have it precise calculations, you're going to bounce too close to a supernova.
Right,
So
right.
that's essentially what happened to the Gwen. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's see, we got some more comments going on. Captain Jesse goes, I was kind of hoping that a Klingon would use the Shinzo for an honorable usage. I hope that the dishonored Klingon would find out how to use the Shinzo to at least send a message to Starfleet with a white flag asking for personal asylum. I have a hard time seeing Volk ask Starfleet for asylum. I really do. I'm really kind of digging the two main Klingon characters that we got in this episode as well to kind of switch gears a little bit. Volk is really, really cool. Did y'all notice that they adjusted his makeup for this episode?
yeah,
In the prologue episodes, he was very tight in the face. He couldn't really emote, but they kind of opened up his eyes some and kind of like moved his nose up back out of the way so you can actually see him emote. So Volk was a much better character this going around, and Laurel. So I mean, those were really cool, really cool Klingon characters. I don't know if I was expecting what to happen to Volk. It puts everything in a new light. You know, being abandoned on the Shinzo and Laurel coming by. So now they have a raider. What are they going to do? Where are they going to go? So they're going to go to House of Mokai and meet these elders there. And they're going to open Volk's mind, and he was going to have to sacrifice everything to gain knowledge that he wouldn't know. So we're getting a Joseph Campbell hero story with Volk. You know, we really are. He's on his own hero's journey, his own hero's quest. In the traditional literary sense, but from the Klingon perspective. At the same time, Michael Burnham is doing that from the Starfleet perspective. You know, the hero leaves home, the hero has a setback, the hero meets this sage or wizard or what have you who helps them grow. They go on a quest, they return home from the quest enlightened. It's that same kind of hero's journey that we see over and over and over again in human literature. Now we're seeing it from two different characters. We're seeing it with Michael Burnham, and we're seeing it with the Klingon Volk. Which is again, this is a show of dichotomies. It's not black and white. It's all about the shades of gray in between. And I'm digging the hell out of it. I really am. Let's see. Kevin just goes, I wonder if the tardigrade was really a Horta. I don't think so, because the Horta was kind of like this pulsating mass of telepathic rage.
yeah.
Klingon or Spock.
Well, what I want to say is like going back to the Klingons. I think we need to discuss the fact that we found out that Klingons actually eat human flesh.
Yeah, I had forgot about that, but
it was meat. They didn't care. They didn't eat food. So
I
mean, they probably eat themselves if necessary. You know
well, in many human cultures, there was the belief that if you ate the heart of your enemy or if you ate the flesh of your enemy, you would bring them into yourself and you would gain their power. You would become stronger. You would take in their essence. So I kind of wonder if the Klingons kind of, or at least not like on a we're gonna put you on a spit roast and roast you kind of idea, but this kind of idea is like we defeated this enemy. I'm taking in their power. It becomes like a traditional thing or a religious reverence. The quick, great Highlander reference, sir. Well done. There can be only one. So yeah, Volk eating the flesh, picking Giorgio's skull clean. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
That's what a way! What a way for the greatest Starfleet captain to go. And I'm not saying she's the greatest. Starfleet said she's the greatest. So
Yeah.
She's a footnote in history, dude. That's all she is, man. A footnote in
now,
history.
now. But leading up to the Battle of the Binary Stars, Philippa Georgiou was considered the best captain in Starfleet. She was the captain that they would send other captains to learn. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure her vacancy in Starfleet is being felt by more than just Michael Burnham. Uh, Again, just a lot of really great things in this episode. Even Paul Stamets, who kind of annoyed me in the last episode. I'm like, okay, like I don't know how I feel about this guy. I mean, he's obviously brilliant and he's a good character, but I just didn't know. He wasn't very likable to me in the first episode, or the episode 3, the first episode we met the character, I should say. But he was much more likable in this one. He didn't completely have that douchebaggery about him. It was almost like he was humbled quite a bit, especially when Michael Burnham figured out the tardigrade puzzle. So it's all really good stuff.
They seem to bond at that point. Like, oh, I want to talk with mushrooms or spores. Like, oh my god,
Yeah,
seriously.
it's
I was like, wait, that's a complete 180. Right?
Yeah.
Still a douchebag though. Sorry, man.
no, yeah, he's a bit of a little bit of a douchebag. But again, it goes back to that dichotomy. He says it very, very clearly to Lorca. He's like, I did not sign up to Starfleet to be for war. I'm a scientist. I'm an explorer. This is not what I do. And Lorca's like, well, hit bricks, buddy. And then Stamets is like, well, I'll just take all my research with me. And Lorca's like, wait, Starfleet's research. You're not taking anything. It's like, I don't think he read that page of the employee handbook.
Really?
It's like when you work for a tech firm. Anything you work on while working for a tech firm, the tech firm owns. Like it's not your research, buddy. Man, the spore drive, it just has such potential. I want to know what happened. I want to know why it's not being used. Like I'm sure it has to do with the tardigrade, and we talked about that before. But it's supremely interesting to me, and the effect, dude. It's the effect of when it just like the ship just kind of like started spinning and kind of like twist inside out, and it just popped up in a new area. You know what it reminded me of in Harry Potter, when they apparate from location to location and they kind of like spin up in a knot and reappear. It's like the Discovery, apparated Harry Potter style to another location of the galaxy. That's a really cool effect. Really cool effect.
I just like the after effect.
Yeah.
All the vertebrate play just went boom.
Yeah, it was sick, man. That was so sick. It was like just like the hero moment.
Now, my question is like the discovery when it's spinning its saucer section. I mean, was that retrofitted just for the spore drive, or was it built primarily just for the spore drive?
See, I think that's where the term, because the full name of the spore drive is Displacement Spore Hub Drive. And you can kind of think of the rotating section of a ship may be the hub part of that, like the hub of a wheel or something.
Well, you saw it go in a warp on its own when they slipstreamed into the gravity well of a star, and then they came up to go into warp.
Yeah, it has two.
when it went into warp, it did not. The sausage section did not spin.
Exactly, because it has two propulsion systems on it. It has the traditional Cochrane warp drive, and then it has the displacement spore hub drive. So I mean, it has the standard. What's up, Kevin? Welcome to the show, sir.
Dark Lord has arrived.
Yes, we are currently discussing the displacement spore hub drive and how
yes.
fracking it is.
Yeah. The DSHP, yes.
Yes. So good. So good. So we know that the Discovery has both drive systems on board. It has the Cochrane drive and it has the displacement spore drive. So I super cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Those Mondas broke.
Yeah. Let's see. Captain Jesse goes, what might happen if Cadet Connor's body from Discovery Episode 1 were falling to the... Sorry, I'm trying to decipher spelling. Basically, can the spore was falling into the drive system? Can the spores heal or bring people back to life, dead bodies? I don't think there's any evidence for that.
Zombies.
Is it possible? It's science fiction. Anything's possible. Let's see. I still think that Captain Lorca's Section 31. I do too. But before he signed up for Section 31, did he study under Captain Philippa Georgiou? Maybe. I mean, I guess it all depends on how long he's been in Starfleet. Who knows? So many questions. Okay, so what did y'all think about the battle simulation in the bridge using the view screen?
Video games on the bridge. Yes.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. I like that.
Yeah, it was just like a video game that we would play today.
Yeah, it's great. Like I can see that. I mean, we haven't seen that before in Star Trek, but now that I've seen it, I'm like, oh, well, that just makes complete total sense. I'm sure every Starfleet vessel would do that. That just makes sense to me, So that was really cool seeing it. Kevin just goes, I would not want to be inside the Discovery with the spore warping dancing ship. Yeah, like I can imagine that's very uncomfortable. Like in just see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yes.
When they're making the jumps and to get to Ego's planet, and Yondu's like, we can't do this. You're all supposed to make more than 50 jumps at once, and we're about to make 700. And they're all stretched out, and their faces are bulging, and it becomes like a heavy cartoon effect. I can imagine that's probably what riding through the spore drive jump would be like. Just like you jump out of it, and all of a sudden everybody on the ship just yerks. Exactly.
Although they're not as cute as Baby Groot.
That's true. that is absolutely true. Oh man, I guess I keep saying it, man. This is a really fun episode. This was probably the best episode yet. This was the most Star Trek of all the episodes. Yeah, like I wonder who's going to replace Landry. Like, so who will be Discovery's new security chief? I have no idea who Discovery's new security chief is going to be. Like, since this is
Tilly.
Oh God, could you be her on the bridge just yammering away? Lorca just pulls out a phaser and stuns her.
Really? She's the new Wesley Crusher of the ship.
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Billy. There you go.
It's fun to be
interesting side note. The actress who played Landry played Tori in Battlestar.
Oh, she did, didn't
Random
she?
side note. Just random side.
Completely. I missed that completely.
Didn't the admiral that was on the news or that was talking to Captain Lorca. She looks really familiar. Has anyone else seen her in another show?
Yes, and I can't remember what show she was in. It was a sci-fi show. Um,
Yeah.
God, what show was that?
Was it Earth 2?
Something like that. It was one of those mid '90s
Yeah.
syndicated sci-fi shows that were just all over the place. God, I miss all of those. Andromeda,
Yep.
Cleopatra 2525,
Yeah.
7 Days, Earth 2. That heyday of television sci-fi right there.
We ate all those shows
Space
up.
Above and Beyond.
Space Above and Beyond.
Oh,
One
God.
season of awesomeness, and you know what? F you, Fox.
10 years ahead of its time.
Space Above and Beyond got Fireflied before Firefly got Fireflied.
Nobody
Wow.
was watching it, dude.
Oh, man. Let's see. I can't believe we haven't talked about this. The very opening of the episode. Like, okay, what is this? This is some kind of spatial anomaly. Something's getting constructed. You got lightning striking, and then bonds forming, and then it comes out, and it's the uniform getting replicated.
That was awesome.
That was great.
That was
That was really, really, really cool.
First
I
time
was
got to see
originally thinking
inside
that
of
was the
Replicator.
Fortress of Solitude being formed at the microscopic level.
Yeah, something crazy, man. Like I thought it was like some kind of like spatial anomaly or something that Discovery was investigating, and then it was just that was something getting replicated at the molecular level. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Captain Lorca should recruit a young James T. Kirk. Maybe he already has.
Oh, crap, man.
Remember, at this point, Kirk is in the fleet somewhere.
He is. He is.
I read somewhere that that in this period of discovery, it takes place years after the cage, so it could be possible.
Yeah, yeah. So we know that right now Spock is the science officer for Pike. What was Kirk was on the Kirk wasn't on the Farragut. Picard was on the Farragut. What was Kirk's station before the Enterprise?
Oh, hold on. I'm researching that right now.
Yeah, Kirk was on the Farragut, I think.
Was he?
was.
The Farragut. Okay, I for some reason I was thinking Picard was on the Farragut.
Picard was on the Stargazer.
Thank you. Good call.
Wow.
Captain Jesse says the Farragut as well. So I wonder what the Farragut's out there doing.
Hanging out with space chicks, probably.
So I guess we got to ask the question: do we want the Enterprise to make an appearance?
Nope.
However briefly. So Pat's immediate with a no. Just immediately, nope. How about you, fellas?
If it does, I want it to be in the background where you can tell it's the Enterprise, but not go so close as to examine what's inside.
All right.
I don't know. It's kind of like what you Kevin and I always said about the CW DC shows. If we ever saw Batman, if Batman or the name Batman got mentioned, show changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, immediately becomes the Batman show. It's like, okay, I don't care about Green Arrow anymore. Bring me on the Batman. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I guess you're probably right. It's like, go follow the Enterprise now.
I mean, the minute like the camera glosses over the top of the ship and you see 1701, you know.
Yeah.
You get that stupid grin on your face, and you say, "Oh."
And the bowels of Trekkies worldwide would spontaneously empty. Just immediately, just whoosh.
The immediate squeal will kick in.
Michael
Kevin knows that
agrees.
sound.
Michael, I assume Michael is answering. He doesn't want to see the Enterprise either. So
That's a little more graphic than I would go with, but you know.
I mean, I'm not wrong though.
No, you're not wrong. It's the same reason you never see a Sovereign class in DS9.
Right. Well, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a name drop. You know, it's like, you know, there's some kind of like a status report or what have you, or Lorca is looking at a chart in his ready room of the battle lines and Starfleet ship placements, and just sitting there right there, it's like the USS Enterprise group. You know, like the Discovery is over here, the Enterprise is over here. You know, various ships like that. Okay, like that would be awesome. But I kind of want to see the Enterprise, but at the same time, I'm torn. Like I agree with you guys as well that maybe it shouldn't happen. Captain Jessica goes, you know, how about a Constitution class? I mean, we can see a Connie. Would you feel that any Connie would be might as well be the Enterprise? It's something to think about.
Yeah, I think a Constitution class is okay.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see a Daedalus class.
Yes, make that completely canon.
Yeah, the Daedalus class just kind of putting along like a space Pinto.
Yeah.
giant red cross on the side of it like a hospital ship.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah.
No, it's really not. You know, I imagine we've got some more large space battles in the future of this show, just because the nature of what the show is about, or at least this first season anyway. So maybe we'll see. There's no telling what we'll see in the background. You know, we saw some things that are like a very similar to the Stargazer. You know, with the four nacelles and such pop up. So, yeah, maybe. Let's not see. So,
So what was what was the Last Will? I watched the whole holographic Last Will and Testament. What was in that case?
Oh, the case was Giorgio's telescope.
Okay, I figured it was okay.
Now, strangely enough, it appeared to be a different telescope than what she had in her ready room on the Shenzhou.
Well,
So maybe this is one she had, in which I mean, obviously didn't have time to evacuate before she got stabbed in hard by a mek'leth. But so apparently this is an older one that was at her home in San Francisco, probably. You know,
it was already earmarked for burning right off the bat.
Yeah, well, you know, when you die, estate planners go into your home and pack up all your shit and either sell it to clear your debts or give them to the people you've got it, you know, you've got it willed to. So, Kevin Jessica's a wish that CBS could push out a full 24 to 26 episodes. I don't know if I want that to happen. Like, I'm kind of a fan of the short seasons, because it keeps the tension high. You know, it keeps the show from overextending itself. You know, especially in these new serialized formats. We can look at other examples like The Exorcist. Did y'all watch The Exorcist last season on Fox? Great show. Great show. Only 10 episodes long. But because it was only 10 episodes long, it kept the tension high. Like the previous season of The X-Files.
You know, they're basically doing it like the anime style, keeping it like the 12 to 15 episodes. So once that first season ends, you're like spazzing because you're like, okay, where's the rest of it? Well, what the hell? You know, I want more. You know.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to keeping it short with the 15 episodes we're getting this season. I hope next season stays about 15 episodes as well, so it doesn't overextend itself. Trying to get an additional 9 hours out of a story, inevitably you're going to get some warp 10 salamanders when that happens. It's just what you gonna do, you know?
Yeah.
Because for every the butcher's knife cares not for the lamb's cries, you're gonna get a Spock's brain.
Yep.
So at least with a 15 episode season, the chance of that happening is lessened greatly.
Yeah,
You
there's
never
supposed to
know.
be a
We might
pretty
get
big
one of
flame.
those. So.
Mm.
So, what about a mid-season mini Star Trek series? Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Like 3 or 4 episodes that follow a different ship for a story arc, and then comes back to the Discovery. I mean, there might be a discussion to be had about that eventually, there, Captain Jesse. I don't think it's not going to happen.
An Agent Carter.
Yeah,
For
yeah, like an Agent Carter for Starfleet.
No, I want to see a mini series on Arium, which is the android that's on the bridge of the Discovery.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
one just kind of popped out of nowhere. Like, what the heck? Who's this?
she's cool looking. Now, a lot of people have said that diminishes the impact that a Data had on the series by having another android on Discovery. But obviously, the android that's on Discovery is much, 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 much less sophisticated than Data. Much less sophisticated than Data. So it's a stepping stone. I kind of wonder if she's maybe one of Soong's early models.
Well, I'm reading right here. It said that Arium character is a synthetic human hybrid, which means that she is an alien, essentially.
A cyborg
Yeah.
Uh oh.
as opposed to an android.
It's gonna turn, man. Gonna take her out, man. In time, man.
Maybe, who knows, man? There's no telling what kind of stories they're going to tell
We
with
gotta
this
plant a
series.
virus in her, man.
Because I think one of the great things about this series is that we're getting new stories. Like every episode is new, and it's not something that we've seen before. But even though it feels different than the Trek we grew up with, it's still very much Star Trek in its core. And I'm loving it. I'm loving every frame of this show. I really am. I'm very curious to see where it goes. I want to see Michael Burnham continue to grow as a character. I want to. So we're getting to know Tilly slowly but surely. We're getting to know Stamets, and we're getting to know Lorca. But this, unlike previous Trek series, is not an ensemble cast. Where we had the Harry Kim episode, and we had the Worf episode, and we had the Captain episode, we had the Janeway banging a dude on the holodeck episode. Where we would have these episodes for all these characters that would flesh them all out. This entire show is Michael Burnham's story, so that we're having to get to know these characters in different ways, and I'm cool with that. But it's different than what we're used to. It's the nature of serialized storytelling as opposed to episodic storytelling. So,
So,
yeah. I love the title of this episode too. The butcher's knife cares not for the lamb's cries. It's a very ominous title.
yeah.
And you probably say that was about Ripper. I mean,
and all good titles are double entendres and triple entendres and quadruple entendres. The title can mean many different things for many different ways. Like the first one right now is like, okay, so is the Ripper the lamb and Starfleet is the butcher?
I can see that.
Or is Volk the butcher and Starfleet is the Lamb, or is Cole the Butcher and Voke is the Lamb? There's a lot of different meanings that can be interpreted from the title.
So basically,
And
we
that's
saw
what
two lambs basically in the show. So.
we probably said we probably saw 3 or 4 or 5 different lambs in this show. Like, is Paul Stamets the lamb compared to Lorca being the butcher? You know, there's a lot of different interpretations there, and the title absolutely was about that power difference. You know, being the butcher versus being the lamb. Again, it goes back to what this show is really about: is that dichotomy. You know, Starfleet's core versus fighting a war. Michael Burnham's Vulcan upbringing, but human genetics. There's a lot of dichotomies there. A lot of man versus man thematics at play, and it's awesome.
Or was Landry the lamb and Ripper the butcher?
Yeah. Not. I think in that specific situation, that Landry was the lamb kebab, and Ripper was the restaurant patron.
Yeah.
Oh, Landry, we hardly knew ye. Well, that answered a lot of people's questions, because after the end of last episode, a lot of people were like, "Wait a minute, why is Landry listed as a guest star?" Well, now we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cadet Tilly does seem to be settling down more. She does seem to be kind of coming to.
Yeah, I sense friendship amongst them. Like, that quick? Okay.
Reluctant. Well, you can tell that Michael Burnham doesn't care what anybody but Saru thinks. She doesn't care what Lorca thinks. She doesn't care what Stamets thinks. She doesn't care what Tilly thinks. She cares what Saru thinks.
That dude, I don't know, man. He don't like her. Like,
Would
he
you?
don't like her at all.
Would you, in that situation? Like, imagine if, your first officer on your last posting mutinied and ended up getting your captain killed. Like, and now you have to serve with her again. Like, nobody would like her. It's not going to be like Saru's going to be like, oh, it's okay, bygones be bygones. Especially his species, which seems to be very timid, very wary by nature.
It was just in the sense, like, he's like, yeah, Burnham, you're a very capable asset, and she mentions that you said I was an asset. He goes, yeah, I was trying to be nice though.
He's like, yeah, I was being polite. I was expecting you to be on the shuttle and on the other side of the galaxy by now, leaving me the hell alone and not getting my people killed. Please leave me alone. And I can't say I blame him. I'm really digging the Michael Burnham character, but I'm wary. I don't know. Even as an audience member, I don't trust her yet. Like, her missteps on the Shinzo were severe. They were big mistakes.
You just said you can't trust her, which is weird. Like, you feel like she's gonna let her. I don't know why I keep looking at her as a Vulcan for some stupid reason, because I know she's a human.
Because she speaks like a Vulcan. She has that Vulcan intonation.
Yeah, but you feel like the human side will kick in, will overwrite the Vulcan training, and she'll do something more askew.
I mean, sometimes. Like sometimes I feel that way. And now, when I say that I don't trust the character, it's not that I'm knocking the character at all. She's a very well written character, and Sonequa Martin Green is playing her masterfully. So that's not what I'm saying is like I don't know if I want Michael Burnham on my bridge. You know, I kind of feel like she still needs to be in jail for a while. You know, maybe not
She
for
needs to simmer
life.
for a little bit more.
Maybe not for life, or what have you.
Couple
But
years. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, a few years, 5, 10, 15.
Dang man,
Like,
you want her to really simmer down and be
well, she fucked up. I mean, that wasn't a tiny offense, It wasn't Tom Paris stole a shuttlecraft, and this is different
you
ball
have to
game.
admit
Different
you
ball
have to
game.
admit that she said straight up. She said straight up, told the captain that we got to fire first. If we don't, we all gonna die. You gonna die.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not gonna do that. Well, captain's dead. So everything that Burnham said was gonna happen happened.
Yeah, but not necessarily
So
true. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Even Sarek told her, it's like, I'm going to give you this information, but there's no guarantee. He even said it's probably not going to work for a human vessel. It's worked for a Vulcan ship with Vulcan crew and stuff like that. Doesn't mean it's going to work for a Starfleet
yes,
ship.
he said humans are irrational.
Yeah.
I know that.
So they're like
But
saying that it would have played out the same way either way. There's no evidence for that. There's no way of knowing that. We kind of gotta at that point you fall back on your training. We see it all the time in our personal lives, in our work lives, and something like that. Something crazy pops up. What do we have to do? Well, we have to fall back on our training, whatever that training may be. That's what we have to fall back on. We can't just all of a sudden go, you know what, take the rule book, rip it up, policy and procedure, be damned. I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want to do. Seldom does that ever work. We have to fall back on our training. And I feel that if Michael Burnham had fallen back on her training, and let Georgiou captain, maybe things would have gone differently.
Well,
but we don't know.
Yeah, I know. We don't. But in a sense, we did kind of see Georgiou captain. She talked to the Klingons. We come in peace. Oh, here he comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a major misstep happened. My bad, my bad. But let's come to the table and talk. Let's smooth this crap out.
Right.
You know what I mean? But by then the Klingons like, man, screw that crap. I'm gonna put a bullet in the first human to roll up on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that's a very valid point and everything. But I kind of can't help but wonder, like, how differently would it have played out if Michael Burnham was on the bridge where she was supposed to be, as opposed to in a brig. So just things to think about. Well, we're hitting up on that hour mark pretty quickly, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and ask the chat room on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this episode? And we're going to go round table. Kevin, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this episode?
I'd give it an 8. I'd give it a solid 8. I love finally get to see the Discovery do what it does. Love seeing the outer ring finally spin around. That was cool. Love seeing the them jump above the little mining colony, jump out, leave the photon torpedo bombs, blow up some Klingons.
That was so badass.
I still, if they are Section 31, everybody says the whole spore drive fails. How do we know it fails? How do we know that Section 31 hasn't kept it for themselves?
Very true. We just don't really know.
We don't know. So yeah, I give it an 8, maybe 8.5 tops.
That's a good score. That's a damn good score. Pat, 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Mm, I'll give it an 8.
What?
I agree. That part is Kevin covered like half everything I wanted to say. So so that sucked. So I was going to leave it there. It was a good episode. The moral compass that it has now left us with is a good become a became a good talking point for the show. So
Right.
so I'll leave it there. So
Will, how about you, man?
Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but yeah, I would go for an 8 as well. And pretty much everyone else covered what I was going to cover. Um, really, it's just I want to know what's going to happen with the Ripper, what that ultimate implications that's going to be, and the moral implications for that. Because that like like we all discussed, that's like classic Star Trek moral dilemmas. That's what binds all of our Trek all the Trekkies together is there's moral implications, and how does that relate to modern times? And you can see a lot of parallels what's happening with that right now. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see. Jude Funnyword gives it a 10. Captain Jesse gives it a 10. Michael Smith gives it an 8.5. I'm going to give it an 8.5. It for me, it hit on all cylinders and hit hard. It was that classic moral dilemma y'all just spoke of. The science saving the day, even in a time of war, really hit me in my Trekkie parts. It did. I felt some tinglies in my tingly bits.
Hashtag Trekkie parts.
Hashtag
there we go.
Hashtag Trekkie parts. Tingle in my Trekkie parts. Hashtag pound sign.
That's a little hashtag. Hash browns there.
Oh yeah, I gotta give it an 8.5. I loved it. I mean, of course, we talked about what the 10 is for us, and our 10s are City on the Edge of Tomorrow, The Inner Light, like those are 10s. And it's right on its heels. It's like a good solid 8.5. I cannot wait to see what happens next week. I mean, I'm hooked. I am in. I am so in for whatever story they want to tell me. So, yeah. And that's what we're going to call it. There you go, X93. There we go, Pat. Hashtag Trekkie Parts. Make it trend. We are counting on you, chat room. Get on Twitter now. Hashtag Trekkie Parts. Let the world know if you got a tingle in your Trekkie Parts. Another great episode, guys. I love speaking with you. Let's call it a night, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. I am Average Joe, the Average Geek, and I've got my bridge crew here: Kevin Stallings, Pat Whitehead, Will Smith, and yeah, live long and prosper.
And Trekkie parts.
And hashtag.
Okay, stop.